A few years ago, I saw a documentary, and it was about fiat currency and how the currency is completely based on confidence. And when that confidence erodes, what happens next? And since we know through history what does happen next when hyperinflation sets in, typically society starts to break down. And since this was about the time, a few years before I'd become a father, so about the same time I'm considering, how do I protect my family through this potential outcome? And taking a look down the rabbit hole, once you get on the internet, you see, well, if the currency collapses, this could happen, and then this, and so on, and so on, and so on. Before you know it, you have several different dozen scenarios that you're trying to protect your family against. And they all lead to one logical conclusion, that you're not going to be able to do it alone. And the more that you have that you want to protect, the more difficult it's going to be to protect it. And so for one person, this is an equation that has an impossible outcome. Because logically, if a person works out the math, that's 168 hours a week that someone has to have eyes 360 on everything that you're trying to protect. I just started to put together an idea of based on natural resources, if all else fails and you can produce, whether it's you can produce water, we don't produce water, but we have a spring. So technically the water originates here on the property. And of course, water being life, everything else comes from it. If you've got timber, if you've got a way to mill that timber and build, then not only can you live because of water, grow because of the food, but you can build because of the other resources that are on your property. Then the next logical conclusion is that you have to be able to protect it. And with a large extended family that really, for the most part, wasn't into any of this subculture, that the what ifs, if it's not on the nightly news, it doesn't exist. And so we live in a world that, more explores the alternative side of things. And the more that I've seen and the more stories that I've come across, I've heard hundreds of them. And all these tiny little miracles that I see every day adding up to one bigger picture is that it was always supposed to be a group of people, and it was always supposed to be here. We started a farm, and we have all these natural resources that are well beyond what we could consume. There's more food that grows wild on the property without planting one seed. God just put it here, that we could sustain a person an acre with about 750 calories a day, and when you have hundreds of acres, all of a sudden that becomes quite a few people. For us, we're happy that we seem to be the first ones that are doing it on this scale and something exactly like this. And I typically say this idea was always bigger than the one that I came up with. So from the very beginning, God had other plans for this, and we're just happy to still be along for the ride.